I'm Joe, the gay one.
And I'm Nick, the straight one. Welcome to the Car Crush.
Got a very special episode for you guys. We were invited on our first ever drive program, and it was a global first drive program for the new Lucid Grand Touring Performance.
We're still unclear on if Lucid made a mistake in inviting us. However, our names were on the correct platform. Like, we were invited to Lucid to drive their car for a day.
It may have been an error, but you know what? We're not going to correct that error. We're going to get on that plane and we're going to go to Menlo Park and we're going to check out their facilities. So we saw both the retail facilities, we saw where they're made, and more importantly, we saw an entire day of the beautiful Santa Cruz Mountains on these incredibly gorgeous roads.
Yeah. Not to mention, we also got to drive with the world famous Stig. Very cool, very fanboy moment for me.
Everybody's favorite tame racing car driver, the Stig.
Right.
All that and more coming up.
And now to the driving.
So we are in the GT. So we're spending the morning of this Lucid Drive program in the GT, and then in the afternoon we're driving the GT Performance. And even though this, this only has...
It's only 820
horsepower?
something like that. Above 800.
It is so fast. I mean, it takes all of 3 seconds to get to 60, whereas the Performance takes 2.6 and has 1,050 horsepower.
I love when we finish each other's sentences.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, that's how close we are.
But it's just a beautiful interior, and it's part of what they teach you here at Lucid is that they really built the car from the inside out. So they really thought about the passenger space, and it's impressive. So they say it is about the size of a 5 Series BMW on the outside, the size of an S-Class on the inside.
When you're sitting in the rear seat, I mean, I'm 6 foot, you're 6'2".
Yep.
And when you're sitting in the back at 6'2", there looked like there was 4 inches of room between your knees and the front seat, and that was not with the front seat. That was at the front seat at your
right.
Ride height. We talked about this when we finally got eyes on the car in person yesterday, which was the car also looks, when you're watching videos or when you're looking at press photos, it looks significantly bigger and more substantial than it does in person. In person, it actually has more of a squatted, smaller, dare I say, sporty kind of look to it in person that you don't really, it's hard to grasp when looking at pictures. And I think that's important to note because it really, although it's billed as this like top of the line luxury car, it's a driver's car. I mean,
and I think the suspension really helps. I mean, we've had a couple of conversations with the engineers about the reason why they chose coil spring for this car as opposed to air suspension. You get a much more realistic response with what's going on actually on the road. Ready for the sound? 1,050 horsepower, right? And it sounds like, I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but it sounds like a turbine. Like it sounds like a jet taxiing to the, taxiing for takeoff.
it really does, yeah.
And I guess it's simply because the motors in front and rear are spinning at like 20,000 revolutions, and it's like...
Yeah, I think, was it 18 or 20,000 RPMs?
20,000
I mean,
RPMs?
that is an astronomical number.
It's absolutely incredible. And this whole, the jet cockpit thing, I mean, the interior of this does to me look like, the inside of a really beautiful private jet. The materials, and the finishes, and just the expense of it. It smells very expensive too. It smells extremely
It smells good, yeah.
leathery and expensive.
Right.
It's really gorgeous. And I think this glass canopy over here, which, I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but it's this huge sheet of glass, and it really does, it feels like you are in a fighter jet. Even the logo, like the Lucid Air logo, like it even feels like a sort of like a callback to sort of the heyday of aviation in the 50s and 60s,
Right. Not all of us were alive for that, but I have seen movies.
I was not alive for that.
Sure. You know what's great about this? I'm gonna go off topic here.
Okay.
I don't think this car is a vomit comet.
No, it's not a vomit comet.
I haven't felt... We've been driving this car now for some hours.
Right.
Longer than we've had in any other EV to this point. And we've had kind of like a decent array of EVs. And this car doesn't make me hate my life.
No, and I think it is partly because of these steel springs, the coil spring suspension, which allows some natural body roll.
Where you actually, and you feel connected, so your body, the visceral experience of like your brain connecting to your body, going, I know we're gonna.
The car has like a natural weight transfer. And
right.
You can actually feel it, and you're going over things, going around corners, and you're actually feeling the road. Like I can actually feel through the steering wheel, like you can hear it. I can feel the little reflectors on the center divider, and
right.
a lot of that sensation with the air suspension is very deliberately kind of muted. Did I mention it smells incredibly expensive and leathery?
I feel rich right now.
I feel very, very expensive at the moment.
Yeah, no,
as well we should, because it is a $179,000 car. So all of this luxury and all this performance, it's not a Sentra.
No. So yeah, I guess we should talk about pricing. So this car is the top of the line Grand Touring performance. This is the top of the line best you can buy Air at $179,000.
Fully equipped. There are no options other than choosing your color, and your interior theme. There are.
But that's nothing is additional cost. Yeah.
No.
So that's $179,000 for the GT performance, and then you drop in variants and you go to the regular Grand Touring, which hits you at $154,000.
Right.
And then from the regular Grand Touring, you go down to just a Touring,
right,
which hits you at $107,000.
Yep.
And then from there, there's one more base model that's sub 100K called the Pure, and that hits you at $87,400.
And that will be, so this car is a two-motor, obviously, one on the front, one on the back. The Pure will be a single motor driving the rear wheels.
Correct. And that one sounds like it'll be around 400-ish horsepower, and then each car incrementally bumps up 400, 600, 800,
right.
1,050, something like that. And but all that to say that every one of these cars, even when you drop down to the Pure with less battery, still get well over 400 miles per charge.
Yeah, and if you go, with the right battery setup and the right tire and wheel package, you can get over, a 19-inch wheel package, you can get over 500, which is just incredible. Together with the fact the car sounds like a plane and is sprung so nicely, the steering is really nicely weighted. It's really, really communicative, and it's
okay.
So we actually hadn't done that yet.
By the way, that's
in Swift.
That's in Swift, which is not the full 1,050 horsepower.
Should we put our foot down one more time?
Let's put it in Sprint.
And so you press sprint, and it's like, are you absolutely sure?
Sprint activation. Sprint mode enables maximum power and torque. Blah, blah, blah. Confirm.
Okay, ready?
Kind of. I'm going to put my head back so it doesn't hurt me. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I felt like my chest compress.
Okay. Let me okay.
I literally felt my chest compress.
So earlier, we did a launch pad, launch control launch at the PayPal Center, whatever it's called, the soccer field, the Earthquakes or something, in Palo Alto. And I was in the car with Ben Collins, a.k.a.
The Stig. The Stig.
And we did a launch, and it was like, I don't know how many feet it was or what it was. It wasn't a quarter mile. It was like maybe an eighth mile.
Woo!
And
sure.
When I launched, I had that feeling like, oh, my body is exiting. I mean, my organs are exiting my body and going out of the seat. And I got scared, and I lifted, and I never lift, and I lifted, and I was like, oh, in my head, all I could think was, I just lifted in front of the Stig. I just lifted in front of the Stig. I am such a loser. I don't deserve anything in life.
Do you want to do that again, or is once enough?
That launch?
Yeah.
Just tell me when you're going to do it so I can put my head back. Because it actually wasn't that bad when I put my head back. Maybe don't do it around this blind turn where it says horses may be crossing the road.
Are you ready?
Oh, God, again? I'm ready. Oh, fudge sickle. It's just really fast.
I mean,
okay, but I'm going to say this again. I'm going to reiterate this because I think it's very important. I don't feel horrible.
No, and because the car, as it does it, it actually has some natural movements to it.
Yes,
it feels like
it's really I can't stress that enough. I have not felt good in the passenger seat of any other EV we've driven so far.
it's Lucid for us all the way.
Lucid, baby!
Although we might want to drive some of the cars that it competes with first before saying that. But anyway. So the interior, also, we should talk about these screens. One of which, by the way, before we forget. So this one, what's this other one called again?
The center screen.
No, it's called the...
I don't remember.
It's called the... Well, this is called the glass cockpit.
Yes.
This is called the... Anyway, what's really cool is if you don't want this, you just do that, and it gives you a little, area down there.
It gives you a pretty big area for storage. I mean, you could fit...
Then when you're ready to get that back, you do this. And it's cool also in this interior because while there are some capacitive touches here, there are also actual real clickety-click buttons here, including this, which is the radio.
Which is what they call them, clickety-click buttons.
Clickety-clack buttons.
Yeah.
Your ventilation. Also, your vents are actually manually controlled, as opposed to in some of these cars, we actually got to go into a menu and a sub-menu.
Yeah, so you can move these. This is a volume control.
For the radio?
For the radio here in the middle. Your hazards are up here, as well as dome lights. And this piece here we learned yesterday is called the spine, which is cool, and it runs all of the...
ambient lighting comes through there, as well as all the Bluetooth and all that stuff.
Yeah, basically all of the...
all the electronic
wiring.
doodads.
the doodads and the clickety-clacks.
But so they've cleverly designed, so the stuff that you use on a more regular basis are accessed through the screens up here, and the stuff that requires more of a drill-down menu are down here. So if you want to put on your massage seats, which, by the way, in this car are vigorous and fantastic.
Yeah, they're really
good. Really good. I mean, they actually give you like a pretty decent massage.
Yeah, vigorous and fantastic.
Including on your hindquarters. I'm not sure if you noticed that, but usually,
I did.
Sometimes I think sometimes they're a bit too polite to sort of get your glutes.
While we're on navigation, I can swipe down. There, I got it.
There we go.
You have to bring that up and push that down. But so right now we have the navigation on this, like whatever this is, 15-inch, 19-inch screen, maybe 13. I don't know. It's big though. But you still don't lose. You can still control AC. You can still go home here. You can go to your settings here.
Nice.
It's nice. So this is my first time behind the wheel of the GTP, as they call it, Grand Touring Performance. I'm driving at a legal, 100% legal rate of speed through this canyon. No, in all seriousness, it feels really good. It feels really planted. It feels super connected to the road. If you're going to have any qualms about this car, which is really you being nitpicky and specifically looking for something to have qualms about, it would be, there's like a little bit of noise from the wind here and here that you hear.
Is your window closed?
I just checked that, but because I don't remember that being a thing. But yes, they're all closed. So, and you know what? I did watch some other videos on the Lucid, and people talked about like creakiness and some noises.
So we're not having any of that.
I have not heard one creak.
Not a single creak or
one. There hasn't been a peep from the car.
And it feels like it really wants to go. It really invites you to push it.
It's interesting to call a car that is, what is this, 5,200 pounds?
5,200, yeah.
It seems counterintuitive to call a car that weighs that much a driver's car. For something that weighs this much and has this much power, it's, and is an EV, it is, I think it's the most driver-focused EV I've driven.
And it feels alive. It doesn't feel like it's had all of the spirit kind of computerized out of it. It feels like it's a.
It feels like you're actually driving it.
Yeah.
Which is important because so many new cars remove the feeling of thrill in regards to having total control of the car, and that thrill is simply what we've discussed, which is like being on a roller coaster and the thrill of like inertia and going fast.
Yeah.
This one, you can actually get into corners and feel it and control it.
Yep.
Which is important for people who actually like driving.
And it feels like a jet.
And it feels like a jet.
So up here, we just did a little pit stop at Alice's, and there was a yellow 992 GT3. And the guys from Lucid, who were with one of the cars when they're doing the hill climb at the Goodwood Festival of Speed in England, which Ben Collins, aka the Stig, piloted for them, which is why he's here today, because he's working with the brand. And the Porsche people, who are also, of course, at the Festival of Speed and doing the hill climb, politely intimated to the Lucid team, could they perhaps stop outperforming their Porsches that were on track, and taking the Porsche drivers and Porsche employees for rides in the Lucid,
right,
and blowing everyone away because they felt like it was rather stealing their thunder.
And you know what's interesting? If I heard us saying this right now, or if I heard someone saying that and I hadn't driven this car, I'd be like, that didn't happen. But after driving this car and experiencing it, that happened.
Let's talk to Ben about that now, shall we?
Ben Collins, aka the Stig. We met him yesterday, and he's literally been begging us for the last 24 hours to be on our channel, which we kind of felt bad.
Which
so we
channel?
said, touche.
That's right.
The Car
Okay,
Crush.
touche. Good name.
The Stig. The Stig is here, and I think he's going to maybe tell us what he loves about the Lucid, because we know what we love about the Lucid after spending the last 24 hours with it. But as somebody who's spent so much time behind the wheels of so many amazing cars, what is it about this that you love?
Do you know what? I loved your reaction to it, so we went out together. We did the launch, and I could tell quite quickly that you knew what you were doing. You've obviously driven quite a few cars before, and even still, it's shocking. The acceleration off the line is amazing. And so even though I've done a number of them now, and I'm sort of getting used to it, it's still fresh every time, especially as a passenger, to feel that incredible surge of power. So that is really fun. It's like it's a nice party piece, and it's something if you're into supercars, you want that big burst of acceleration.
Right.
But I think that's just one small element of a much bigger story. And for me, the piece I like the most is the fact that these cars handle. You've got the suspension is supple. You can tip the car into the corner, and as a driver, you can adjust it with the steering wheel. You can decide how much rotation is going on, and your inputs make a difference because it still has a mechanical brake with the servo. The steering wheel definitely has lots of feel, and you're directly in charge of that power. You can choose how much of it you want with the different modes, but it's still under your right foot, so it doesn't feel like the car's driving you. So I think that it's incredibly high tech, groundbreaking technology, but it's not taken away the human element. I think that's why I like it.
Because that incredible sort of, in this car, the acceleration is so fast. It literally, like, your chest compresses. Like, you sort of feel sort of organs and things sort of making their own way to new locations while you're accelerating. But in some ways with an electric car, that's the party trick. There's sort of not everybody has it like this, but that's kind of the party trick. But what this car does for us, as you just touched on, is it really does feel like a driver's car. The car actually really reacts and feels and engages. And it feels as if there are so many of these really heavy electric cars. You feel as if there's this layer of electronics, which is separating you from the road and separating you from really engaging in a way that you want to come back to and come back to. And this car, to me, it really wants to be driven.
I think a lot of that, I've got to know a lot of the team over the last weeks, and so Goodwood was my first interaction with Lucid, and David Lickfold was involved with me a lot, quite directly, so he's director of the chassis and dynamics and the handling side, so he's obviously spent a lot of time with it, but there's so many of them throughout the company that are so passionate, but they love driving, so they've built a driver's car. It's just as one follows the other. So I think that there's no getting away from it. I'm sure that's what they're planning for the future, but I think they've this is their first car. They've knocked it out of the park, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, good luck to you in your career, and I hope
we wish you the best.
We see
hope
big
you do-
things for you.
We hope you do well. Yeah.
Next time you should get out to Goodwood and get yourself in the passenger seat, and we'll rip up the hill, or even behind the wheel.
Fantastic.
That would be wonderful.
We'll wait for the phone to ring.
All right, brilliant.
The Lucid Air is a special car, a truly engaging EV packed with performance, modern luxury, and dare I say it, soul. Its greatest practical luxury, its industry-best range, and its ability to charge to 300 miles in under 22 minutes. But frankly, it had me at alpaca. The choice wool chosen for its innovative interior together with the wood, leather, and Alcantara. And yes, it really does sound just like a jet.
Lucid has miniaturized all of its electric components around a 900-volt architecture, giving you two unparalleled and important components when car shopping. A range that topples Tesla by at least 100 miles, and in-cabin space that parallels something like a long wheelbase Range Rover. To note, both the Lucid and Model S have a 116.5-inch wheelbase, but you'd never know that by sitting in both. It's beautiful and thoughtful, and it drives like a bat out of hell. The suspension and steering feel are connected in ways that Tesla just isn't. You can pitch the car into a turn and have confidence it will stick. All this to say, I love this car. I really do.